Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
Sally and Jim were concerned that they were not going to have any retirement. They were one single income family, raised their kids, and Sally stayed at home raising the kids. And they called me the other day talking to me and concerned that they weren't going to have any retirement. And I asked some questions, found out that Jim works for the state where he lives and therefore has a state pension that's going to come to him when he retires. I said, Sally and Jim, I want to put you at ease and let you know that you have a pension coming to you. You've been saving for retirement, even though you don't know it. You're going to have a good pension when you retire, a monthly check that you won't be able to outlive. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about turn your IRA or 401k into a paycheck. AAA. That's a good story. That's a nice story when you don't realize you got retirement savings and there's an insurance company on the hook, right?
Yeah.
There's an insurance company on the hook to give you a payment for the rest of your life. Now, what we're talking about is either building backup paycheck for that, or if you were not so lucky as to have a pension and you need more income, you need more paycheck, you need more dependable, right, cash flow than what typically happens, which is I'm going to draw 4% or I'm going to hold my assets go up so I can sell them, which is a terrible way of investing. It might be fine speculating, but it's a terrible way to have confidence in retirement.
That's right. And I just want to emphasize, you just said draw 4%. I want to emphasize the words withdraw 4%, take out 4%. That's a huge difference in what we're always talking about, Daniel, which is receiving 4, 5, 6, 7% or whatever, right? But the idea here and why I started the show is because when people retire, it's not like they need $1 million or $2 million or $3 million, whatever the number is. What they need is a check that they're not going to be able to outlive, a paycheck every month. And I always relate it to the idea of you need to eat in retirement. And if you buy roosters and you need to eat, you have to kill some roosters. As long as your roosters are growing, you're getting more roosters, hey, that's fine. But if you don't, you can actually run out of roosters and run out of food. But if you buy chickens and you just eat the eggs, you'll always eat the rest of your life. Well, when people retire, they need a paycheck that's going to pay them, that they're going to be able to live off of, since they don't have that paycheck coming in anymore. And in the aspect of like Jim that has the pension check, that's a great thing, right? And then you add Social Security to it, which is basically a government pension for all Americans, basically, where we get Social Security. It's a pension. It's a check you cannot live. In Jim's case, you got a pension that is great. Well, then what I actually talked to Jim and Sally about was the aspect of putting money into the retirement plan, their 401k plan, their 457 plan, their 403b plan, right? Because they were going to need more money in the future. And like we're always talking about the three-legged stool of retirement, right? Getting money from your 401k plan, having the savings, having a pension, having a Social Security, or having maybe real estate or some other investment like that. And so the idea here is that you want to be able to have a paycheck when you retire, money that you can't outlive. That's what today's show is about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's two ways to look at that. One is the way to build up the money so that you can have the paycheck. The other way is you have already built up the money, and how do you get a paycheck, right? So some of the ways to build up the money to get a paycheck are what are the things we see? Most people have money. They have a business and it's paying them a paycheck, but they don't want to do that forever. They have rental properties, right? And they've delayed consumption to pay the mortgages, to pay down those properties, to build up that real estate, right? Mm-hmm. And the most common out of all those is a 401k, a 403b, some kind of work-sponsored retirement plan that Some of your money is automatically coming out of your paycheck. It's going into this plan. You're getting a tax break, or you're turning it into tax-free money so that in the future you can have income. So deferring your pleasure, deferring, right, your gratification now,
Right.
so that you can have a pile later on. We want to talk to the people, especially who already have the pile, and they need to
Right.
figure out how to get income, how to get a reasonable amount of income out of that, because there's not a lot of people explaining this. There's not a lot of people
Right.
talking about how to get income, how to get that paycheck AAA from their pile.
Exactly. That's what we want to talk about. Today's topic is turn your IRA 401k into a paycheck, getting a paycheck in retirement. You listen to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. And we have a paper that goes along with today's show that we love to put in your hands today, and it's called TR equals I plus G. This is the formula for more successful retirement. We're always talking about this. We're going to talk to about today's show. TR equals I plus G. TR stands for total return equals income and growth. And who doesn't want total return, income, and growth? And so this is for you. Call 800-725-7616 for your free obligation, no obligation paper, 800-725-7616, because people don't know what people don't know. And that's the idea, Daniel, is that people don't know how to get a paycheck in retirement. They know that they've been saving this money all their life. They've been, what I like to say is, climbing the mountain of retirement, going up it in a two-seater sports car. It's sexy. It's fun. The wind blowing through your hair, and in the 401k plan. But when you get to the top of that snow-cap covered mountain of retirement, do you really still want to be in a two-seater sports car going across that snow-cap covered mountain, or would you rather have an all-wheel drive SUV driven by a professional driver that's been there before? So I love that.
I saw a video the other day, and it was a tractor trailer coming down a snow-covered mountain, but this wasn't in the U.S. There was no guardrails or anything. And it was a cliff. It was a straight drop off, and the tractor trailer hit ice, and it started sliding, and it slid sideways, and there was like a divot where there was a hole in the mountain, the protected side of the mountain, not the cliff side of the mountain. And the tractor trailer slid all the way sideways, all the way across, but it slid into this hole at the same time. And it was the wrong way across the highway, all the way across the highway, blocking the whole highway, but it didn't slide off the edge. The rear tires of the trailer were right on the edge. Could you imagine the driver of that truck, how terrified that they would be?
Indeed. And that's what we don't want for people in the retirement, right? We want people to not be terrified in retirement, because when you get close to the top of that mountain, you're looking over the edge, and it's scary, because your paycheck's going to change, your friends are going to change, your schedule's going to change. And that's indeed, oh man, it can be scary, just like that. So getting a paycheck is an important thing, but how do you do it? How do you switch from a two-seater sports car into an all-wheel drive SUV? How do you do it? That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, and we've had prospects, clients ask us this a lot lately, and that's part of the reason for the show, right? Mm-hmm. Either my current advisor has told me if I do 4%, I'm going to run out of money, or other questions like that. I have $1 million, so if I spend $100,000 every year, I'm going to be out of money in 10 years, right? These types of questions. And these are serious questions that need answering.
Yes, they are.
So let's dive into some myths and some actual numbers, because this is one of the best times to try to retire, right? If we were having this conversation in 2018 and 2021, it was a different story on what you could get for income. And when we say income, we're talking about what your assets can pay you, not how much you can take out of your assets, but what your investment portfolio can actually sustainably pay you
for the rest of your life. That's the key. Yeah, exactly. And what I want to throw in here, Daniel, is that when we're talking about this, a lot of people say, well, I have an annuity. An annuity is going to be able to give me some income or going to guarantee me some income and that kind of thing. And what I want to say to you, if you have an annuity, in our listening audience, if you have an annuity, you owe it to yourself to get a second opinion on that, because the Federal Reserve has given you a present to where you can keep the same risk or maybe even lower your risk on that, but increase your return on that money. And if you don't have a second opinion where you can't get that analyzed, somebody else is making money on your money. And and that's just egregious to think of somebody is making 2, 3, 4% on your money. Some billionaire is making that kind of money on your money when you could be making that money. And if you don't need it, okay, well, that's good, but you could give it away. There's a lot of organizations. There's a lot of starving people in this world today, a lot of people that are in poor shape that could use assistance that you could give that money to. And so you owe it to yourself to do that second opinion. Now, if you're just joined us, you listen to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is turning your 401k or 403b 457 into a paycheck, a retirement paycheck. And we have a book that we'd like to give you. It goes along with today's show that tells you some of the ins and outs and part of how it is that we do that for our clients. It's called Common Sense Income Strategies, written by our friend Michael Eastham, CPA. And we'd love to be able to put this in your hands for free, no obligation, but for you calling us at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 for your free copy of Common Sense Income Strategies, helping you be able to understand how to get the most income without having to be able to dig into the principal. Yours for free. Next 5 first-time callers, 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. If you're a client, please call. You're welcome to the book. But otherwise, first 5 first-time callers, 800-725-7616. Call now. We'll be right back after this.
Do you have any questions for me about retirement income source?
I just want to make sure I can invest well enough to have enough income, enjoy my retirement.
We build a custom retirement plan based around your income and goals.
How do I know I can trust you?
Building trust does take time, but our investment advisory arm is comprised of fiduciaries, which means our obligation is to you, so you can enjoy your retirement with a little more income stability.
I'm in.
That's 2 out of 3.
You're locked on to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
Daniel, one of our listeners wrote in and said, I'm within 1 year of retirement. I have only $600,000 saved. My financial advisor told me that if I withdraw 4% annually, I will run out of money in my early 90s. I'm currently 64. This makes no sense to me. I have heard you recommending not touching principal. I am all for that. However, how would I run out of money by only withdrawing 4% and paying 1.5% in fees? Please advise. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today we're talking about turning your 401k, your IRA, into a paycheck. And when we say paycheck, we're not talking about drawing 4% and running out of money. What we're talking about is getting paid. Your assets working for you, right? This is the way I like to explain it. You've worked hard for 40 years or whatever it is, and you've earned a paycheck. You've taken money out of your paycheck. You've stuffed it away. And now it's time for you to relax and let your money work for you. And it's hard for people to wrap their heads around this because it's not talked about very much, but this actually can happen. You have this money and your money can work for you. And instead of drawing your money down, it's paying you. So you're investing in companies, you're investing in grocery stores, you're investing wherever you spend money, theaters, grocery stores, wherever you're spending money, you're investing in these types of companies and they're paying you now. So when you go spend your money, it's like you're getting a dividend back from them. Although you don't have to spend it to get it, you're still going to get it. But just think about it like that. If you're going to the theater, you're going to the grocery store, you're going to the gas station, and you're spending money, you're part owner potentially in these companies, and you're just getting part of the profits you're paying and everyone else is paying. And you can do this in a lot of different ways that I think we're going to get into today. But AAA, let's hop back to this question that the listener wrote in about.
So the first thing is her question is based on how am I going to withdraw money how am I going to run out of money by paying withdrawing 4% and paying 1%, 1.5% fee. So first of all, that 1.5% in fees is an egregious number. First of all, so it's way too high. It's way too high than what it should be. The rest of the story here is she says to me when I was talking to her that, but I'm getting, if I get 7% on my money. Now, we've talked about that before, and I think this is good time to talk about it now, right? That, the market does 7% over time. Yeah, but like I said to her, have you heard about the 6-foot-tall man that drowns in the 4-foot on average water? She said, yeah. And because some of that water is 10 feet deep, right? And the 6-foot-tall man goes in and he drowns. And that's what happens. Like recently you told the story of a speculating investor getting maybe 42% on one increase 1 year, but then the next year having a negative 75%. And maybe on on average, the market doesn't ever do 7% in any 1 year. It's either up or it's down or it's sideways or whatever, but it hardly ever does 7%, right? And so that's the key. If it's down or sideways and you take out 4%, withdraw 4%, you're taking it from principal. And if they're charging you 1.5% fees, which again is an egregious number, terrible, although I've seen places charge 2% in fees all in, it's then you're digging into principal, and that is not a pretty sight. That is not going to be something that you can outlive, that you're going to outlive. In this case, she says, I run out of money in my early 90s, her advisor tells her. Who wants to run out of money?
Especially in your 90s, right? At least if you run out of money in your 70s, then you're still capable. You can counter correct. But in your 90s, what are you doing to counter correct? You're done, right?
Well, that's the biggest mistake retirees make, is not switching from a growth and a accumulation strategy to a distribution strategy at the proper time, right? The sooner you can do it, if you're 5 years within retirement, that's going to be great. This person says they're within 1 year. Well, we can still do some really good things with 1 year, but the sooner that you do it, the better. And it can be compounding for when it's time to take it out and can get set up. So what tends to work good in one direction can work against you in another. So that's the idea of dollar cost averaging, right? Dollar cost averaging, you put money in, and if the market goes up, you buy fewer shares. The market goes down, you buy more shares, but it makes your money grow over time. Well, if you're withdrawing money...
Why does it make your money grow over time?
Well, so if you put in $100 in 2007 when the market was high and you got 10 shares for that $100, and then the market dropped in 2009, you put another $100 in. Well, now you buy 20 shares for that $100. So now you have 30 shares. The market goes back up to where it was at $10 a share. And your 30 shares becomes, you don't invest any more money, and your 30 shares is worth $300. You invested $200, but you have $300 in your account. That's a beautiful thing. But the problem comes in that if you're withdrawing the money at that point, and you have $1,000 in 2007, you take out 100, and you take out 10 shares. The market drops, you take out another $100, you take out 20 shares. The market comes back to where it was. Now you have 70 shares left in your account at $10 a share. That's $700. Well, if you had $1,000, like I said, to start with, you took out 200, but you have 700 left. What happened to that other $100? Well, it's in somebody else's pocket. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is turn your 401k into a paycheck. And we have a paper go along with today's show called TR equals I plus G, the formula for more successful retirement. That's what we're talking about, a more successful retirement for folks. Instead of having to withdraw 4% to be able to get 5 or 6 or 7% after fees coming into your account, so that's into your bank account. You can have this paper for free by calling us at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 for your free copy of TR equals I plus G. Total return equals income plus growth. Call now for that. You're listening to Financial Strategies because people don't know what people don't know. So in that illustration, Daniel, I was giving, right, the 401k, the dollar cost averaging, when you're building the money, works really well for you. But when you're taking it out, if you still have the same methodology, you're actually cannibalizing your assets. Not good.
So you're saying it's like stairs. It's like stairs. So if you're going down the stairs, each step, you're spending the same amount of money. You're putting $100 in, but now you're down a step. So that same $100 buys you 2 shares. And then you go down another step. That same 100 buys you 3 shares. You go down another step. That same $100 buys you 4 shares. So you're accumulating more shares for the same money. And that works while you're saving. But if you're doing that while you're in retirement and you're no longer saving, you're stepping down those stairs, and you need $100, it's 1 share. You need $200 or you need $100, it's 2 shares. You need $100, it's 3 shares. You need $100, it's 4 shares. You need $100, you're selling 6 shares.
Ouch.
Right?
Yeah.
They get the same $100. And so you can't come back from that if you sell too many shares.
Exactly.
Whereas you're talking about investing, I mean, that white paper we're giving away, everyone of every age should ask for that white paper, because that really explains this stuff of how when you invest for income first, so when you're not saving or you don't want to be saving, let's say in the next 5 years, you're going for income first. So pay me first, income. I want to receive a check. So let's say $1 million. You've got $1 million now because you've already saved. You've got $1 million. Markets have done well. You're up, right? You've got $1 million and you say, I want to switch from this dollar cost averaging strategy of investing my paycheck into the market. And when markets go down, it benefits me, to all markets benefit me. I'm going to take this $1 million. I'm going to invest it for income first, growth second. And let's say that somewhere in the moderate range, you're earning about 6.5%. So that's $60,000 to $65,000 a year. Your account is paying you. Now, if you don't need that money, that's $60,000 to $65,000 a year that you can reinvest. And if markets come down, because you're in the income model, it's not going to come down as much, but that means you have $60,000 to $65,000 to reinvest, and the income doesn't go down. So let's say the $1 million turns into $900,000. You're still getting paid $60,000 or $65,000 a year that you can reinvest, right? But if you need that money, you can collect that money, and it doesn't matter. And that's what you're talking about when you're talking about dollar cost averaging either benefiting you or hurting you. But when you invest for income first, you can do either strategy. You can do the dollar cost averaging. You can use that $65,000 to reinvest, or you don't have to be bothered at all, and you can just collect your $60,000 or $65,000.
And that's one of the things we're talking about, is how to turn your IRA, 401k, whatever it is, into a paycheck. That's how we turn it into paycheck, right, Daniel? And the beautiful thing about that, if you do it a few years before retirement, in that example of $1 million, getting $60,000, $65,000 a year of income, what happens? In like 3 years, they're getting somewhere in the vicinity of $75,000, $80,000, $85,000 a year of income, and their asset value is up to maybe 1.2 million, or somewhere in that vicinity, maybe. Or maybe it's still 1 million or 1.1, but they're getting 75, 80 more income because they didn't need it, and we're getting them more. That goes back to the illustration at the beginning. If you're buying chickens and you get the eggs, you don't need the eggs, we can buy more chickens. If we buy more chickens, what do we get? We get more eggs. And then we keep doing that year after year. And that's how we get that $60,000 to $65,000 up to $75,000, $80,000, $85,000 a year that they don't have to worry about running out of money. It's a beautiful thing, right? Well,
and that ties back to the original question, right? So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about investing in things that pay you. And when you don't need the money, it's reinvesting and it's growing 2 ways. The account value can go up. Now, we're not guaranteeing that the account value is always going to go up because things can affect the account value, but it's going to grow the income, which eventually it will bring the account values up because we're talking about investing in things that have contracts behind them. It's not a hope strategy, but the income will keep compounding and growing each year. And so until you start drawing or taking the income, until you start receiving the income or a portion of the income, that income is just going to keep increasing each year. And you don't run out, you can't run out of money if it's increasing each year.
Right. It's a beautiful thing when it's done properly. So turning your IRA into a 401k or 401k into a paycheck is today's topic on financial strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. We have going to need to go to break. We have a book we love to give you called Common Sense Income Strategies. It's going to help you be able to understand how these things work with what we're talking about. And it's a very interesting book. It's got eggs on the front of the cover. It's a beautiful thing. So we'd love to put this in your hands for free for the first 5 first-time callers at 800-725-7616. 800-725-7616. For the next 5 first-time callers or clients, call us for your free copy. Call now, and we'll be right back after this.
This is Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
AAA, I was talking to an investor the other day, and he wanted to know how much money, what's the number? How much money do I need to retire? And I said, well, it depends on a lot of things. We don't usually look at it the same way as everybody, but it depends on certain things. How much money do you want to spend in retirement? Well, what do you want your lifestyle to look like in retirement? Because I need a number that you want to spend before I can tell you a number that you need to get there, because it's different for everybody. So, well, I don't know. I don't know how much it is. And I was like, well, to be serious about retirement, you need to know what you want your lifestyle to look like. And then we can look at all the forms of income you have. And so then we went through, and he had a lot of real estate and he had different things that we went through, and we were able to come up with that number. But it starts with, what do you want your retirement to look like? What do you want to spend? What do you want that lifestyle to be like in retirement? I'm Daniel Agemy.
And I'm Andrew Agemy. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is turn your IRA or 401k into a paycheck. And because people don't know what people don't know, we're trying to educate people to be able to make smart decisions so that they can retire and stay retired. Daniel, we get these kinds of questions all the time. We get people wondering what to spend. And the key is, what do you want to spend? And we encourage people to spend their money, right? Like a lot of financial advisors don't want people to spend money because they're going to lose money. That's not our case. This is
it also lowers the chances of making it like past 90, right?
Right.
When you're looking for the growth first and income second, right, AAA?
Because most professional financial people don't know this model or don't know how to do it, don't know how to do it as successfully as somebody who's a true income specialist that specializes in doing this and has for decades. So that is the big key, is being able to do this. And now, but today's topic is turn your IRA, 401k, 457, 403b into a paycheck. And people want to know how to do that. And so first of all, an IRA is different than a 403b, 457, or 401k. The latter three are some form, usually come from your company, where you own the assets, but the company owns the plan. And the key is, number one, is to get the money out of the plan into your own control into an IRA. And a lot of people don't understand that when they're 59 and a half, most companies, the government has taken the handcuffs off so that people can roll their money over without taxation, without penalty, into an IRA that where they can invest it in the ways that are going to best suit them and be in their best interest, rather than just be quote unquote suitable in the 401k plan. They have a lot of options in the 401k plan, but they're not necessarily the best options. And Daniel, you and I like the best options.
Yeah,
right?
we like the best options. And to put it in perspective, because a lot of people love their company. They say they've done a good job for me. They take care of me. Their 401k has grown over time. But what people don't realize is it's getting more and more difficult for companies and 401k plans because they are fiduciaries. And what ends up happening is there's certain funds the government has said, this is a sue-proof fund. If you invest in this fund, your 401k plan can't be sued for not taking care of their fiduciary duties. So they just automatically add these funds that are not in your best interest. They're in the plan's best interest.
Right.
So that they won't be sued because the government said this is a sue-proof fund. And so what ends up happening is money starts flowing into these funds, which makes the return metrics on the funds not favorable towards the investor.
Yeah.
They typically are not even they're not close to the best for you. They're best for the plan. The plan wants those. And so that's another reason why the government at 59 and a half says you're allowed to roll these plans over into your own plan so you can have all investment vehicles available to you. And that's something, folks, you really need to pay attention. If you haven't looked at that, you're handcuffed. You only have a limited amount of investments available to you if you have an amazing 401k plan. But most aren't amazing. Most are set up in a way that allows the plan not to be sued by you for giving you investments because people, BlackRocks, the State Streets of the world, they don't believe you can make good decisions. And so that's what they make these things sue-proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. They're trying to protect you from yourself, so to speak. I've heard those words from from organizations like that. It's terrible. But, the thing is, in people's 401ks, they've done well, but that doesn't mean that's how it's going to be in the future. That's like we said earlier about going up the mountain of retirement in a two-seater sports car, which is great, but that doesn't mean you want to go across the mountain in a two-seater, ice-capped, snow-capped covered mountain in a two-seater sports car. But the thing is, when you get your money in a 401k and then you need to take it out, and now this is a different thing, and that's what we're going to talk about in a minute. But I want to let you know that you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is turning your IRA 401k into a paycheck. And we have a paper that we'd like to put in your hands about annuities, how you can get income for life from annuities. Now, we are not like, annuities are the greatest thing since sliced bread. Annuities are part of people's portfolios that can be used to be able to do things. But this is educating you so you can make smart decisions about annuities. And let me just say, if you have an annuity out there, and it's especially if it's 2 years old or older, you owe it to yourself to have a second opinion on that, because the Federal Reserve has made some changes in the past year or two, and that actually work to your benefit, where you can keep the same risk tolerance, maybe lower your risk tolerance, but increase your return. And you owe it to yourself to take a look at that. But this paper on annuities will help you do some of that, but you can have it or have that second opinion by calling us at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 for no obligation, either second opinion or for the paper on annuities. You listen to Financial Strategies because people don't know what people don't know. Daniel, as we look at 401ks and turning IRAs and 401ks into a paycheck, many times people do that there's various ways that they do that, but the biggest one is by engineering income, by withdrawing money, like the story that we had heard, or the question we heard earlier, where the financial advisor said, withdraw 4% every year and you run out of money in your 90s. Well, that's not a great way of engineering income. Another way that people engineer income is by having buckets of money. And they'll say, well, I'll invest this money in the stock market, and I'll invest this money in a money market account, make maybe zero or very little return or whatever. And to me, that's like having 1 foot in an ice cold bucket of water and 1 foot in a boiling hot bucket of water, right? And on average, you're okay, but your right foot to your left foot doesn't feel very good, right? Neither of them feel very good. And averages tend to fool us. But that's another way that people engineer income, and that's not great, right?
Yeah. I think with that example that you just gave, there's people who talk about a barbell approach where you have aggressive on one side and you guys conservative on the other. And it can help you balance out and mitigate some risk. But what you're talking about that is on one side, you're doing what everybody's doing. And so you're happy when it goes up, you're happy. And when it goes down, you're happy because you're doing what everybody's doing. But there's not really any risk adjusted return. There's not really any alpha there. And then when you look at especially U.S. equities and you look at their the equity, the market is at all-time highs. The price per earnings is close to the expensiveness of them is close to all-time highs. And you say, we look back 150 years, this average is 9.5%, but we're at a high. So what do you think it's going to average? What do you think if we're at the highs on everything and it's averaged 9.5, do you think we're going to do better than 9.5 or worse than 9.5 going forward? So you just look at a simple thing like that, and then you say, income can pay me 6, 7, 8, depending where on the spectrum you want to go. Why would I not collect a solid 7.5 instead of 9.5 when we're at a high, right? And so just looking at those things, where the barbell approach, the actual barbell approach would say, I'm going to take some concentrated bets on things that can do multiples, right? On things that could do 10x over 10 years. And then on the other side, I'm going to go into something that's going to pay me a nice income. So I'm good either way. That's the barbell approach, not I'm going to put money in cash over here. So if markets crash, I can still take my RMD, but I'm going to have everything else in S&P, right? Which is what I mostly see when people think they're doing the barbell. Exactly what you said. It's having a foot and 1 bucket of boiling hot water that you're burning your foot off and frozen hot water and saying on average, it's good.
Yeah, and some other ways that people engineer income besides just plain withdrawals is using like maybe an immediate annuity or worse yet, variable annuities where they have an income rider. And sure, it will be a quote unquote guaranteed income for your life, so to speak, but what's the ins and outs of that? And what does that really mean to you? And how is that actually going to work for you? And it's not what the person that sold it to you it thinks it's going to be. I can't tell you how many times that I've come across people that say, oh, this person sold it to me and they said it was going to do X, Y, Z. And then we call up the company and we find out that's not how it's going to work. And so all these various ways, there are ways of doing it, but, it's suitable, but it's not what's in your best interest. And that's what we want is what's in people's best interest. And that's getting a true paycheck that you won't run out of money for the rest of your life. And that's what we're talking about today. And we've already talked some about that, Daniel, with the dividend approach and the chickens and the eggs and that kind of thing. But if you're in our listening audience, have an annuity, you owe it to yourself to get a second opinion on that because of changes that have happened in the past year or two, you have opportunity to potentially get increased returns and at the same risk or maybe even lower risk than what you were doing. But ideally, you want more money for your money, and that's what you have the opportunity to do. And if you currently are not looking at that, your financial advisor's not looking at that, you got nobody looking at that, you need to have that looked at. You owe it to yourself to look at because you may be giving up thousands of dollars a year, and that's an opportunity we have. And so if you would like to have a second opinion, like us to do a second opinion, we'll do it for free because you're having this, because you're listening to our radio show, or you can get this book, Common Sense Income Strategies, that we're offering today for listening to our show for free to the next 5 first-time callers or to existing clients. You're welcome to have this book for free. 800-725-7616. 800-725-7616 for your free copy. Call now. We'll be right back after this.
The biggest mistake retirees make
is not switching from the growth model to the income model. A good retirement plan is having enough income to last the rest of your life. Any problem in retirement, it can be solved with income. The biggest concern that retirees have is running out of money. The second biggest concern is that they want to grow their money so that they don't run out of money. And they think it's synonymous when it's not necessarily the case. People don't know what they don't know. And they're not going to know unless somebody tells them. People think that the only thing that they can do to grow their money is by investing for growth in the stock market. And it's very much a herd mentality. But you can only get growth when the market goes up. When they invest for income, they're able to get money no matter what happens. I'm Andrew Agemy, founder and CEO of Agemy Financial Strategies. We've been helping people enjoy stress-free retirement for over 30 years.
You're locked on to Financial Strategy with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
AAA, I was talking to a business owner the other day, and he was talking about how he doesn't know what to do with all the money. And I said, well, why don't you invest it? And he said, well, I'm the owner, so if I invest it, I'm trying to buy muni bonds because if I invest it, then it makes more income and more taxes. And I'm already paying too much taxes. Yeah, and I said, have you thought about doing a defined benefit plan? And he said, well, no, what's that? And I said, well, you could put close to around $300,000 a year on top of your 401k. Because he said, I'm already maxing out my 401k. What can I do for taxes? Close to $300,000 a year into this. And what usually ends up happening for the business owner is they take care of their employees too. But what usually ends up happening is they take the money they would be paying in taxes, and that goes to the employees. And then the rest they get without paying taxes on it, at least right now. I'm Daniel Agemy.
And I'm Andrew Agemy. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. And today's topic is turning your IRA or 401k into a paycheck in retirement. Yeah, that's great. That's a great option for business owners. Where we are able to save them taxes, put more money into the pockets of their employees, which benefits them in the long run, the employees as well as the business owners, and gives less to the government, which is a beautiful thing and allows them to put more in their retirement so that they can have more later. And that's then is one of those things that can actually turn into a pension for them, just like the government. Just like where we started the show with the aspect of Jim, who had a pension with the state. A lot of companies don't have pensions anymore, but small companies, various size companies, 100 people and less, can have their own pension plans and can work out to their best interest. So that's a great thing for when we're talking about turning your IRA and 401k into a paycheck. That's an option for self-employed people or business owners to be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, these things for the right people, they're amazing because it gives your employees extra compensation and it doesn't cost you anything because you would have been paying it in taxes anyways. It allows you to put away a ton of money tax deferred. So this guy was saying how he's in the highest tax bracket. So would you not want to put $200,000-$300,000 tax deferred and then take it out? There's strategies to take it out later when you retire. We've also seen people do these, so younger people in the company can purchase the company from the guy that or gal that's trying to retire, right? So there's a lot of cool things that you can turn your 401k plan, this is for the business owner, the plan, into a paycheck, right, AAA?
Right, exactly. But when as we head toward winding down the show and everything like that, how do we do this? Well, the first thing is make a decision to move your money out of your 401k plan into an IRA, and then understanding what are you going to need for income from that standpoint, but making a decision what to do, because a decision on purpose is much better than a decision by indecision. You agree, Daniel?
Yeah, absolutely. And we call that going from the accumulation stage of life or growth stage of life, right? You're packing money away to a pay me or a distribution stage of life. That doesn't mean you've actually transitioned. That doesn't mean that you have retired, because you want to do this before you retire. But what it's doing is it's taking that money and you're moving it into a safer or a more robust portfolio, more structured portfolio with more certain outcome. Because as you get closer to retirement, that's what you need. You need to protect the wealth that you've accumulated, and then you need to get it into, right? So that's the first step. You're making that decision. I want to move from this more aggressive, more saving mindset to I want to get paid by my asset mindset.
Right. And then the next step is being able to understand what your options are so you can make a good decision. And that's where a CEO in a company has people around them, CFOs and other people that are going to educate them to be able to make smart decisions. And that would be the next step, is understanding what the options are. And there's various options. We talked about earlier in the show, the aspect of dividends and interest, which would be like the idea of buying chickens, taking the eggs and buying more chickens with them if you don't need the eggs. But if you're in retirement and you need the eggs, well, we'll take the eggs, right? And you won't run out as long as you take the eggs. It's like the golden goose that lays the golden eggs. As long as you don't kill the golden goose, you'll keep having eggs. You'll keep having money coming in. And then the next thing is the idea of annuities. And annuities can do different things for you. Annuities can be, actually, sometimes that's what companies do. They buy annuities for their employees to be a pension for them for the rest of their life. When my mother retired as a nurse from a local hospital in Connecticut, they bought her a pension, or by buying an annuity for her. And it was a guaranteed, and it lasted the rest of her life. And then some annuities have income riders to them that can actually be a great thing to where you can get growth and income and not get a really high rate income from it without outliving it, which is a great thing. And if you have an annuity, you owe it to yourself to get a second opinion on that annuity, because a lot of annuities out there are not behaving the way as good as what they could be compared to the new annuities that are out there. There's been changes with the Federal Reserve, with interest rates, with different things going on, to where you can either have the same risk and increased return, or lower risk and increased return. So you owe it to yourself to get a second opinion on that. And we have a paper that's going to be able to help you understand annuities a little bit better that we'd like to give you today on financial strategies with Andrew Daniel Agemy. It's just called Annuities, Income for Life, that you can get income from annuities for the rest of your life and not outlive it. You can have that paper for free by calling us at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 for your free copy of Annuities, Income for Life. Ask for it by name, Annuities. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is how to turn your IRA or 401k into a paycheck for retirement. As we are looking at these things, we talked about the various ways of being able to do that. Is once it gets into the IRA, to be able to decide what your options are, dividends and interest. Daniel has talked about preferred securities in another show, and we have a variety of ways of being able to do that, going through what we call conservative money tutorial, to be able to understand what your options are and being educated on the pros and cons, expected returns. Annuities are one of those options. Defined benefit program for business owners, Daniel spoke about up front. And then sometimes people like to have life insurance, whole life insurance in their plans, to be able to create income, because you can have a guaranteed income from that. People think, oh, life insurance, that's for when I die. Well, no, that's death insurance. But life insurance is called life insurance because it's for your life. It's something that can live and go for your whole life. And so that's what some people choose as part of the plan. But the key is having some combination of these things once you understand your risk tolerance and the spectrum, right? People have to understand what their risk tolerance is. And everybody wants to make money, but some people don't want to lose principal. And that's what we're talking about today, is making sure that you have the income that you need and be able to last the rest of your life.
Well, one of the craziest things is that what we're talking about, switching to this pay me model.
Yeah.
Not only does it lower people's risk, but it increases the certainty of their returns.
Nice.
And it's really kind of an amazing time to make these choices, because markets are high, so you can cash out for a great price.
Right.
And you have high income at the same time, which, when does that ever happen, that you can cash out for a good, I mean, I know you had a lot of people coming, knocking on your door, calling you up, begging to see you in 2008, 2009,
Right.
where they already lost most of their money. They wanted to go to an income. Well, this is the point where people can actually cash out where things are at all-time highs and get high income at the same time, right? That does not happen. Same, we just did a show on real estate, where real estate, especially in Connecticut and Colorado, is very high, right? The rents don't make a lot of sense based off of those, but you can cash out and go into things with even higher income. So it's a really important time to ask yourself, are you an investor? Or are you a speculator? Are you someone who wants to get paid? Or are you someone that is enjoying the hope mentality of watching shares go up and hope that it will continue to go up so you can draw from your investment portfolio?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's people have options and they don't know what their options are. Like Louis Pasteur said, chance favors the prepared mind. Being prepared is important. I like the proverb that says, a man plans his ways, but God directs his steps, and that we're supposed to plan and prepare, but also be flexible enough when God changes those plans that we can flex with that. This has been great talking with you today. You've been listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic has been turning your IRA 401k into a paycheck for retirement. And people don't know what people don't know. And we're trying to educate you and others to be able to make smart decisions. Daniel Agemy is my son on the show when living in Colorado. I live in Connecticut, but today I'm in our mobile office in Tampa, Florida. Been enjoying Florida in the summer months, which is kind of crazy. But nevertheless, we have a book for you we'd like to give to you to help continue to educate you in these things, called Common Sense Income Strategies by our friend Michael Easton, CPA and PFS. Michael has done a really great job of taking the complex and articulating it in a simple fashion that can be understood to be able to how to turn your paycheck or your IRA and 401k into a paycheck by using dividends and interest to do that. We love to put that book in your hand for free. If you're a client, for free. If you're the first-time caller, one of the next 5 first-time callers at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 for your free copy of Common Sense Income Strategies, easy read book that will educate you in making smart decisions. Well, you've been listening to Financial Strategies, and we believe an educated retiree is a happy and stress-free retiree. And we're looking to educate you. Be well.